Hello, and thank you for joining me at Spooky Reviews. I'm the Ghostess, and I've been counting down those movies that I think best exemplify the different qualities that make horror movies great. And today, I want to look at the ones that gave me goosebumps galore. I want to be watching the film through my fingers and getting those chills right down my spine. Like, I want to be walking around my apartment afterwards with a bat in my hand, checking all the hiding places, and then still fall asleep with the lights on. I may need 20 minutes of cute animal videos to recover, but I'm still gonna come back for more. So here's to all those flicks that brought me to the uncanny valley and back with a smile on my face. The 13 creepiest horror movies of all time. Let's begin the countdown with... Number 13, Honeymoon, 2014. During their first vacation as man and wife, a newlywed groom grows concerned over his bride's bizarre behavior. Subtly unsettling, it keeps just enough unsaid, while still rolling out a mystery that makes perfect sense. The concept creeped me out to my core, and doing a lot with a little, the creators crafted quite the chilling little thriller. Number 12, Sinister, 2012. A true crime author discovers supernatural snuff films in his attic. Darkly lit with an aggressive sound design, it manages to make an effectively disturbing mood that permeates through the screen and sends shivers down your spine. Aside from the 35mm murder movies, there's a lot of cool lore that's been invented for the villain. And while this film definitely has flaws, it's still a fine feature for a fun fright. Number 11, Sasha 9, 2001. Clearing out asbestos from an abandoned asylum unravels its cleaning crew, desperate to make their deadline. I really respect a movie that can freak me out without really showing me all that much, which is one reason I think that it ages very well. The right actors, the right tone, and a killer set all combine into a freaky little feature that totally fucks with my head. The cassette recordings act as benchmarks and ratchet up the tension as the story unfolds. And every time I revisit it, I find my eyes darting over my shoulder just a little bit more. Number 10. Veronica, 2017. Ouija board dabbling during an eclipse unleashes demonic forces upon a Spanish teenager and her siblings. This possession plot is actually based on Estefania Gutierrez Lazaro, a teenager who exhibited bizarre symptoms after playing with a Ouija board and died under mysterious circumstances a year later. In the years that followed her death, her family claimed to experience supernatural disturbances within the home. And unlike other haunted house stories, this one is actually backed up by a police report filed by an inspector who came to investigate a noise complaint and officially reported unexplainable phenomenon that he witnessed when he was within the home. While the movie obviously differs from the real story, right down to the title, it smartly creates distinct, well-rounded, and grounded characters that you can really root for. The visual symbolism isn't very subtle, but it looks lovely, and is executed with very good practical and digital effects, sold spectacularly through the physical performances of the actors. There's just something about watching her try to eat that meatball that makes my whole heart and soul recoil, but I just can't look away. Weird little tense moments like that take this film to another level for me, which is why it's on this list. Number 9. Eyes Without a Face, 1960. In this black and white French thriller, a surgeon performs experimental face grafts on his disfigured daughter in order to restore her beauty using involuntary donors. Stunningly shot and sprinkled with ennui, this film spills chills with the best of them, with an unsettling storyline and uncanny valley visuals, both perfectly encapsulated by the image of the daughter in her signature white mask. She sells her melancholy mostly with her eyes, and does a spectacular job making you feel her pain. It's an incredibly crafted film whose unnerving imagery has helped it stand the test of time. Number 8. Terrified, 2018. All the way from Argentina, this freaky feature focuses on a seemingly normal neighborhood plagued by a supernatural presence that becomes the center of a psychic investigation into the veil between worlds. Every single scare in this movie is well earned, balancing eerie imagery, smart jump scares, and killer creature design. This movie is a lot of fun while still giving that tightness in your chest as you stress over what bizarre thing will happen next. Number 7. The Deep House, 2021. A British YouTuber and his French girlfriend go urban exploring in an underwater haunted house in this innovative and incredibly tense indie English language French film. The visuals are as breathtakingly beautiful as they are bone-chillingly bizarre, and leave you wondering, how'd he do that? On a personal note, scuba diving has always freaked me out a little. It seems weirdly claustrophobic, and knowing all the many things that could go wrong while you're doing it would make me so tense I wouldn't even enjoy the experience. And I fully acknowledge that's a big reason this is so high on the list. So if you're anything like me and get freaked out at the thought of drowning, this aquatic wonder will wriggle its way under your wetsuit and leave you in shivers. Number 6. Ringu, 1998. A journalist investigates mysterious deaths linked to a cursed VHS that will kill anyone who watches it within 7 days. Honestly, when it comes to this and the American remake from 2002, kind of feel like I'm splitting hairs. The remake is kind of 50% shot for shot and 50% doing its own thing, and I think all of the changes are appropriate for the adaptation, particularly the inclusion of Brian Cox in one of the best jump scares ever, although sometimes the ooky spooky atmosphere gets a little ham-fisted. And while I think the American has stronger adult characters, the little boy in the Japanese version knocks the creepy kid from the remake out of the water. They both have fairly impressive practical effects for the time, although the American one clearly comes from a better budget. But I do think the Japanese original has the stronger storyline and a far creepier cursed tape. The mystery unfolds nicely for the uninformed viewer, and those who know what is coming see how all the pieces fell into place, and maybe catch a few more scares they didn't the first time around. Number 5. Candyman, 1992. A fine addition to the required viewing list for any horror fan. Clive Barker's got the concept and an anguished antagonist played to perfection by Tony Todd. And you get a tragic, strangely romantic, supernatural slasher with just enough of a message to really make you think. A graduate student investigates urban legend in Chicago's Cabrini Green, accidentally unleashing a supernatural stalker with a heart of gold, but only because it's covered in bees. This was actually inspired by a true story, wherein an elderly Cabrini Green resident was killed by a man who emerged from her mirror. However, this wasn't a supernatural event because the design of the public housing was so poor that if you pulled off the bathroom mirrors, you could slip into the walls and move around between apartments. And there were apparently so many people doing this that they could never really narrow down the killer. Barker used this story as the foundation, mixing in some Bloody Mary mythos, questioning how these modern, frightening folktales come to life. It has some very raw performances, and a certain emo energy that you usually don't get from hook-handed killers. And even if we completely dismiss the storyline, looking at Tony Todd covered in actual bees for that practical effect gives me goosebumps just sitting here talking about it. This is truly a French kiss of a fantastic time. Mwah! Number 4. The Lodge, 2019. The minds behind Goodnight Mommy once again explore the horrors of a child's imagination in this twisted psychological thriller. The film embodies this cold, gray energy that enhances the sense of isolation from every aspect of design and performance. It explores the torment and trauma that comes from religious zealotry and the dangers of manipulating someone's sense of their place in the universe. It's extremely engaging while still being very bleak, and has a story that'll keep you guessing and gasping up until the very end. Number 3. Halloween, 1978. A psychiatrist hunts down an escaped mental patient who is fixated on murdering babysitters. If you're even interested in this countdown, I'm guessing you've already seen this movie. But let me remind you that there is a reason it is considered the pinnacle of slashers. Typically, movie masked maniacs wear a disguise in order to hide who they are. But we know exactly who's beneath that bleached William Shatner, because this mask isn't meant to hide their identity so much as their humanity. John Carpenter's original creation was a killer who couldn't be reasoned with, devoid of empathy or even motivation, a black hole of remorseless menace in the shape of a person, making them less of a human and more of an unstoppable monster. Which is why I think this is a fantastic standalone movie that gets weakened by a franchise constantly wanting to give calculated reasoning behind his senseless crime. Donald Pleasance delivers exposition with such passion that you fully believe Michael Myers is a threat even before you see him in action. Before night falls in Haddonfield, we only get little glimpses of Michael, some shown to you directly through the eyes of Laurie Strode, and some sneakily stalking the sidelines of the frame. Then, when the story starts to get stabby, we get a couple really cool tableaus of terror and extremely effective jump scares, punctuated perfectly by John Carpenter's score. Its tension will keep you on your toes and make your eyes do a double take at every shadow. Number 2. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. While the 1950s one can stand on its own, this is one of the best remakes of all time. You got Donald Sutherland in the lead, with feature performances from Veronica Cartwright, Jeff Goldblum, and Leonard fucking Nimoy. It's really well paced with stellar effects, and does a great job making you wonder who you can still trust to be the character they were at the beginning of the film. Every time I watch it, I get completely wrapped up in the story, and it leaves me with this sense of paranoia that's hard to shake even when I merge back with the real world. But that's exactly what I'm looking for when I want to be creeped out, and this movie does it almost better than any other. And here are a few classic creeps that didn't quite make the cut. And the number one creepiest horror movie of all time is Black Christmas, 1974. Ooh, I love this movie. It is a personal fave, one that I have to watch at least every Christmas, and if it wasn't a Christmas-themed movie, I might have to watch it all year round. Fun fact, after viewing this movie, a young John Carpenter approached the director and suggested he make an anthology series with a different slasher killer for every holiday. Bob Clark declined, looking to focus instead on Christmas stories, and suggested John Carpenter make it himself. This is the reason we have the movie Halloween. So when I tell you that this is the mother of all slashers, understand that that's just as much about legacy as it is quality. It has excellent characters with a terrific cast, including Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder, Andrea Martin, and John motherfucking Saxon. On the outset, it might seem like your typical 70s sorority house splatterfest, but in actuality, it has an incredibly smart story with a sharp script, the kind of tension that makes you dig your fingernails into your fists. There are some chilling kills that are really creative, and the voyeuristic imagery that makes me have to watch this movie with my back against a wall. And while there are some increasingly terrible remakes out there, this is the only one that matters, and a must-watch for any fan of horror. So those were, in my humble opinion, the 13 creepiest horror movies of all time. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and check out the rest of this series. And thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel in the last couple months. It's really encouraged me to make more content just for you. If I missed one of your favorites, let me know in the comments below, and join me next time for another spooky review. Boo for now! thank you for joining me at Spooky Reviews. I'm the Ghostess. This is spooky.